How's it going, everybody? Jim Barton with Steyr Arms. Gonna make a quick video today going over the cleaning and maintenance cycle of the AUG. There's gonna be some parts of this that are more in depth, some of it's just general after range day cleaning. Inside of your AUG owner's manual, there is a section on preventative maintenance. And you should always refer to the manual, but I'm gonna go over just some tips and tricks that I do personally with my AUG that may not be exactly what it says in the manual. So first things first, you always wanna make sure your firearm is unloaded. So gonna do that, this gun is clear. First things first, we're gonna remove the barrel and talk about cleaning the barrel first. So pull your bolt back slightly, unlock the barrel, lift it out, set this to the side. Now, everybody has their own ways that they like to clean the bore of their barrel in their chamber. The Steyr AUG original cleaning kit comes with a little rope and string and a brush and a patch holder that you can use. A lot of people use rods. Because I'm on this desk, which is not a gun cleaning station, I'm not actually going to do the cleaning cycle of the barrel. I'll leave that up to you, but would suggest doing some patches with some solvents, copper and powder solvents, running some brush through there if you have really heavy fouling. The other part of the barrel that you're gonna wanna to clean is your gas system. So to clean your gas system, we have a video on the gas system and removing the regulator and piston spring. But you're gonna wanna go ahead and remove the regulator, set it to the side, punch your piston out, set it to the side, and remove your spring. Now the gas chamber of the gas block can accrue pretty heavy fouling, although it is somewhat self-cleaning because the gas that's flowing through there is pressurized and is blowing a lot of the stuff out of there. But it is good every once in a while to take some Q-tips and some solvent and run it through there to make sure you're getting out any debris that might be in there. Blow it out with compressed air, put it upside down, bang it on the table, make sure there's nothing in there. And then you want to make sure that your vent holes in your gas block are clear. To clear those, would suggest using something like a wood dowel or a brass punch. Not really great to use steel because you may damage the holes themselves or the gas block. With your piston, your regulator, and your piston return spring, the piston return spring, it's just a spring. Shouldn't need a whole lot of maintenance. You might want to run it under the tap though. For your regulator, it's good to wipe it down. This is a relatively clean gun. This gun doesn't have too many rounds through it, but make sure that the holes in your regulator are clear of any carbon buildup that may happen. To do that, soft wooden dowel, or just put some solvent on there, let that carbon dissolve, and then go in there and punch it out, make sure those holes are clear and that there's no carbon buildup around the regulator, as it may make it harder to adjust the regulator as it kind of builds up. The inside of the regulator as well, just a Q-tip with some solvent, make sure it's clear. On the piston itself, a good wipe down. They are stainless, so they're not going to, you can just wipe it down if you see. If it's covered in black, it may be good to clean. What generally we do here a lot of the time is just chuck it up in a drill and then hit it with some Scotch-Brite just to make sure it's looking pretty and shiny. You don't want to use anything too abrasive like sandpaper because that could damage its ability to seal. And then to reassemble it, you just want to make sure you got a little bit of oil. So applying oil to the gas rings itself and maybe a little bit to the shaft. Replacing the spring and the piston. And then it would be good to apply just a little bit of oil to the regulator, again making sure that it's nice and easy to adjust and turn in the event that you need to. Replace the regulator, make sure that it is locked into at least one position. Might not be the position you want, but make sure it's locked into a position before firing, or else you will send that regulator into space. Another thing to look for on the barrel itself is you can clean your breech face here. Again, it's not super necessary, but it is nice to do, and you can have really easy access. One of the great things about being able to pop the barrel out is having really easy access to your lugs and your chamber. Very easy to clean. Moving on to the rest of the rifle, we can go ahead and pop the receiver out. So to do that, there's this black takedown lug in the center, pressing from left to right. Gonna unlock and remove your receiver. Really, the only thing that you need to clean or maintenance on the receiver is going to be your charging handle slot. On the A3M2, it's actually quite nice. You can remove your charging handle when it's out of the gun and set that to the side. And then you just want to take some grease and make sure that the actual slot for the charging handle has grease in it. That's just going to make it a little bit smoother to charge. It's not going to get hung up or bound up on anything. Additionally, it's sometimes nice to put a drop of oil into your barrel cam pin slot. Just makes it a little bit smoother and easier to work that pin. And that's really it for the receiver. Your bolt carrier, on the other hand, is a little bit more in depth because there are small moving metal parts. First things first, if it's particularly dirty, you can wipe down your guide rods. Make sure they're clean of carbon. And then you want to remove your bolt assembly. So in order to do that, we're just going to come back here to the firing pin lock, pinch these two tabs together and lift them up out of the way. Rotate that firing pin 90 degrees till it's horizontal and remove the firing pin. You can give the firing pin a little wipe down. Don't have to worry too much about this spring. So next things next, you're going to remove your bolt head, locking piece, bolt spring, and retaining piece. So you're just going to depress the top of the cam pin here. I'm just going to use a firing pin so you can see it. When that goes down, your bolt will fly out. So be careful it doesn't go flying out underneath the table or something like that. Just give your bolt a little wipe down. If it's super, super, super heavy carbon fouling, you can throw it in an ultrasonic cleaner or anything like that. Put some solvent on there, make sure you've gotten all the fouling off. Take a wire brush or something and clean your bolt face if it's built up with a lot of carbon fouling. If you've got 10,000 rounds on the gun since the last time you cleaned it, you might want to pop out your extractor claw. To do that, don't need any special tools. Simply pinch down, putting pressure down on the extractor. Take your firing pin or punch that you want to use and press out the pin that holds it. Pin will come to the side. Make sure you don't lose that. And then you can remove your extractor claw. Just give it a little wipe down. Make sure it's not completely bound up. And you can take a Q-tip and clean the extractor slot if need be. They're good to have a little bit of grease right here on the extractor spring. Now, please note that this is not captured. You can remove that spring, and there's a little plunger in there as well. You can remove that. Try not to lose that. It's very small. And then you just want to replace it and do exactly the same thing. Take your pin, make sure you're looking into the side of the hole, make sure the holes are lined up, and then you can just press your pin back in, make sure it's in there nice and flush, and you're good to go. Pulling the locking piece and spring out, you always want to check these parts for damage. The AUG is an incredibly robust and reliable system. That being said, generally speaking, the first parts of an AUG that will wear out are going to be one of these three parts, either the green plastic retainer, the bolt spring, or the locking piece. Check the locking piece around the cam slot for deformation or wear. That can, over time, usually around the 10,000 round to 15,000 round mark, flare enough to where it can bind the bolt up. So it's good to make sure you're keeping this area well oiled. Give this a good wipe down and apply a thin coat of oil to these different surfaces. Just sort of all over. Doesn't need to be a lot. Don't want too much oil in your guns. Just enough to make sure that everything's riding smoothly. You can take some sort of brush, pipe cleaner, anything like that, and clean the inside of your bolt carrier where the bolt slot actually is, and put a little bit of oil in your cam pin slot just to make sure that that cam pin is riding nice and smoothly in the bolt carrier itself. Now to reassemble, you're just going to take your retaining piece. It only goes into the bolt carrier one way, so make sure that that's lined up correctly. Slide that in, take your bolt, make sure that the cam pin is riding in the cam pin slot. Replace the bolt head, holding tension on the front of the bolt. Make sure that you can see and then the cam pin is visible through the top of the cam pin slot. Take your firing pin, holding it horizontally, making sure that piece is all the way up in the back. Press in, and you'll see the cam pin, as I press forward on this, the cam pin will pop up, at which point it's retained. Press the firing pin all the way in and rotate 90 degrees until it's vertical, at which point it's locked, and flip your two tabs down. Last thing is to take a little bit of oil, maybe put 1 or 2 drops on your guide rods. And you can just coat those nicely. That'll just help as they ride inside of the receiver. Put 1 drop on top of your locking piece, 1 drop into your cam slot, 1 drop onto the top of the roller bearing of the bolt carrier, and then 1 or 2 drops of oil into the back of your guide rods. This is just going to help with some of that grime, especially with the new AUG. They have a break-in period to where they get really nice and smooth, and putting a little bit of oil in there is going to help with that. So that's your bolt carrier cleaned and oiled and back together. Lastly, you have your stock and your trigger pack. So to remove the trigger pack, on the back of the butt plate, there's a small indentation. Depress the spring. You'll feel a spring. There's some resistance there. Push into that spring and remove your retaining pin. Set the retaining pin to the side. Pop the butt pad off and remove your trigger pack. If you can't remove your trigger pack, it may be that the hammer is fired in the upward position. If that's the case, it will not come out of the back of the stock. Simply reassemble the gun, charge it once, making sure that you don't have a magazine in there, you're not loading the gun. Charge it once, that'll recock the hammer, at which point you can take the trigger pack out. The trigger pack should not need a tremendous amount of cleaning. They will get dirty due to the fact that they are polymer. They're a Delrin. Extremely hard, doesn't really matter. One thing to note about the trigger pack is you don't want to put any sort of wet lubricant in there. So and run it through there in the trigger pack. That will build up, carbon will build up, and that oil will capture that carbon, and that can lead to some problems and some malfunctions. If you do want to lubricate your trigger pack with anything, I would suggest using some sort of dry graphite lubricant powder. But generally speaking, I never personally lubricate the trigger pack. One thing you can do for your trigger pack is hit it with some compressed air. If you work in a shop and have an air compressor, fantastic. If not, keyboard cleaner is a great tool to have in your gun cleaning arsenal. Trigger pack aside, you have your stock. Generally speaking, again, it's polymer stock. There's nothing you really need to do with this. Just make sure you wipe it down every once in a while. This face in the top where you can see the trigger will build up carbon as the gun is fired. You can just wipe it down, but there shouldn't really be any issue. It is always good though to look inside of your trigger shoe and make sure you haven't built up any debris, any dirt or grime in there. For reassembly, take your trigger pack, press it into the back of the stock. This is a standard gun, so it's important to make sure that you have your bolt catch and release pressed to the top, not the bottom, to make sure that it will engage with the trigger pack when the trigger pack is replaced. If the trigger pack does not go all the way back in, does not go flush, it may be that your trigger linkage is pinched together. So just stick your fingers into the magazine well and make sure that those two rods are spread apart, and will allow the trigger pack to go all the way back in. Take your butt plate, there is a small metal clip at the bottom. Make sure that clip is clipped into the rear of the bottom of the stock, and then rotate those 2 tabs forward. Press down on that spring again, and replace your retaining pin on whichever side you would like and is comfortable for you. Pressing it all the way through, back out, making sure you hear that click and it is locked and the butt pad is securely attached. Pull your main retaining lug all the way out. Put your bolt carrier back in. Make sure to replace your charging handle if you did take it out. And replace your receiver. Push it all the way back in. You may have to pinch up here at the top if the receiver's not going all the way down. Make sure it's seated, and you can press your retaining lug back across. Finally, to replace your barrel, make sure on the Mark II, the charging handle is not in the locked position. It is unlocked. Take your barrel, slightly counterclockwise, off center, press down, rotate locked, and your gun is cleaned and maintained.